For 100 years, the Krell Dominion prepared in complete secret. Their homeworld and 12 nearby star systems turned into giant training grounds. The Krell were tall, thin beings, with hard shells and long lives. They could live for many centuries, so 100 years felt like a normal amount of time for serious work. Their leaders decided long ago that Earth must become part of their empire. Earth had many resources and a position that would help control this part of the galaxy. The Krell knew humans were young in space travel. Humans had only sent machines and a few people beyond their moon. The Krell had already built ships that crossed between stars many times. They started by collecting every signal that came from Earth. Old radio waves, television pictures, news reports, music, movies, everything. The Krell machines listened and recorded for decades. They built huge libraries full of human words, pictures, and sounds. Scientists studied human bodies from medical data stolen. Long ago, they learned that humans broke easily. Bones snapped, lungs filled with fluid, skin burned quickly. The Krell made careful plans. They designed special weapons just for humans. Neurodisruptors sent waves that stopped human brains from thinking clearly. These weapons matched the exact speed of human thoughts. Gravitic lances crushed metal and bone together. Atmospheric phages, tiny living machines, floated in air and ate away at human lungs in minutes. Personal shields protected Krell soldiers from bullets and fire. They built a huge fleet. 12,000 stealth gliders carried 180,000 elite troops. Each glider looked like empty space to human eyes. No heat, no light, no signal escaped the smooth black hulls. Inside, soldiers waited in rows. Their armor changed color to match any background. They carried rifles that shot beams of pure force and small bombs that turned stone into dust. The Krell ran millions of practice battles. In giant simulators, they fought against every kind of human army they could imagine. They tested attacks on cities, on mountains, on oceans, on deserts. Every time the humans lost. The Krell battle computers learned and improved. The final plan looked perfect. No mistakes, no weak points. Young officers trained from birth for this war. Old commanders who remembered the first signals from Earth still led the fleets. They taught that humans argued too much. They split into many countries and fought each other. Humans trusted machines too little and feelings too much. Humans feared death and ran when leaders died. The Krell had no such problems. Their minds linked in perfect order. Their leaders spoke and all obeyed. Supreme War Master Vexthar stood taller than most. His shell shone deep blue from years of honor. He watched the final readiness checks from the command ship bridge. Officers moved around him, reporting numbers and status. Everything stood ready. The fleet waited at the edge of known space, far from any human. Vexthar spoke to the entire armada. His voice carried through every ship and every soldier's mind. The words came calm and strong. We have studied these humans for 100 of their years. We know their strengths and their many weaknesses. They build slowly. They fight among themselves. They die quickly. Our weapons match their every fear. Our soldiers outmatch their best fighters. Today we take what belongs to the Dominion. Earth will join us, or it will end. The humans will never understand what comes for them. Soldiers answered with sharp clicks of mandibles. The sound rolled through the fleet like thunder. The ships turned toward the long jump point. Engines hummed with power. Space folded around them, and the armada vanished into the dark. They came out near a small frozen world at the edge of the human system, the place humans called Pluto. The Krell knew humans watched this area with weak machines, but the stealth worked perfectly. No alarm sounded on Earth. No satellite turned to look. No human eye saw the black shapes sliding closer. The fleet moved inward, past gas giants, past asteroid belts. The gliders spread out like shadows. They picked targets on every big landmass. cities, factories, ports, power plants, command centers. The plan called for one strike to hit them all at once. Humans would wake to find their leaders gone, their weapons useless, their skies full of enemies. Inside the gliders, troops checked gear one last time. They tested camouflage that made them look like walls or trees or empty air. They loaded disruptors and checked air filters. Earth air carried too much oxygen for their lungs. Special masks would keep them safe. They felt no fear, only purpose. The Dominion had waited long enough. Vexthar watched the main display. Earth grew larger, a blue marble wrapped in white clouds. He saw the shapes of continents he had studied in pictures for so long. Africa, Asia, Europe, the Americas, islands scattered like jewels. The planet looked small and peaceful. It held no hint of the storm about to fall. The first gliders reached the upper air. They slowed and matched the spin of the world. Drop pods opened silently. Troops fell toward the surface, wrapped in invisible fields. No sound, no flash, no warning reached the people below. In cities, humans slept, or worked, or laughed. They ate food, talked on small screens, drove machines on roads. None of them knew that death came down from the sky in perfect silence. None of them knew that 100 years of careful planning now ended in these quiet moments. The Krell felt certain victory waited below, ready to be taken. They had trained, and trained again. They left nothing to chance. They came as conquerors, sure that nothing on this young world could stop them. The first troops touched ground. Their feet met soil, grass, sand, stone. The invasion began. The Krell moved forward, ready to claim their prize. They had no idea that 10 moments would end it all. The stealth gliders slipped into Earth's atmosphere like smoke. They moved so fast and quiet that no human warning system caught them. The black hulls drank every radar wave, every heat signal, every light. They spread across the planet, one group for each major landmass. Some headed to cold northern places, others to hot deserts, some to crowded cities, some to empty plains. Inside each glider, the troops stood ready. Their feet pressed against the floor as the pods opened at 40 kilometers high. They fell in silence, wrapped in fields that bent light around them. No sound came from their fall. No trail showed in the sky. When they reached lower air, small parachutes snapped open for a second, then folded away. They landed soft, on grass, on concrete, on sand, on rooftops. The first wave hit the ground all at once. The Krell plan needed perfect timing. Every important target got attacked in the same breath. Beijing command centers felt neuropulses that made guards drop their guns. Bunkers shook as grav lances punched through thick concrete. Moscow lost power in one flash. New Delhi, London, Tokyo, Brasilia, Paris, Berlin, Canberra, every big government place went dark or silent, or both. Krell soldiers moved forward. Their armor shifted color to match walls, or bushes, or night sky. They carried long rifles that hummed with power. One shot from those rifles could melt steel, or turn a human body into mist. They walked in tight groups, eyes scanning for movement. Their minds linked, so each soldier knew what the others saw. In the command ship high above, Supreme War Master Vexthar watched screens that showed every landing. Every troop reported success. No resistance met them yet. No alarms rang across human networks. The neurodisruptors worked on sleeping leaders. The gravlances opened holes in hidden bases. The atmospheric phages started spreading slow clouds of tiny machines that would choke human lungs soon. Vexthar felt calm. His mandibles clicked once, in quiet approval. The humans slept through their own end. Their slow response times gave the Krell hours of free action. In the simulations, humans took many minutes to wake up, organize, and fight. The Krell needed only seconds. The gap looked huge. Troops reached their targets. In Beijing, a squad entered the underground command room. They found generals still in chairs, heads down from the pulse. Weapons lay on tables untouched. The Krell set charges that would collapse the whole place. In Washington, soldiers walked past empty halls. Secret Service agents lay on floors, eyes open, but minds gone. In Moscow, tanks sat quiet, crews asleep inside. Everywhere the same story. The Krell moved through human defenses like ghosts. They planted bombs, shut down power, cut communication lines. They took airports, train stations, ports, radio towers, satellite dishes. Anything that let humans talk or move got broken. Vexstar allowed a small flicker of pride. 100 years of study paid off. Clever things, but they built them slow. They trusted their leaders too much. When those leaders fell, the rest stood lost. The Krell had no single head to cut off. Their minds worked as one. The troops kept moving. Some groups spread into cities. Others went to factories. Others climbed mountains to reach hidden missile sites. They found human soldiers here and there. Most stood confused. Some tried to shoot. The Krell shields flashed and turned bullets away. Beam rifles answered quick and clean. Humans fell without much noise. In one small town in the middle of a big flat land, a Krell squad landed near houses. Lights still burned in windows. People moved inside unaware. The soldiers watched for a moment, then moved on. Their target lay further, a power plant that fed many cities. They reached it fast, set charges, and waited for the signal to blow it. Time passed slow on the Krell clocks. 47 seconds after first landing, every major strike finished. The screens showed green lights across the board. Vexstar nodded to his officers. The first phase ended perfect. The humans lost their eyes, their ears, their voices. Now the second phase would begin. Take the land, hold the people, break any fight before it grew. The Krell started to relax a little. Their long training made them careful, but even careful beings feel sure when everything goes right. They checked weapons again. They tested air filters. Earth air tasted strange, full of oxygen and water vapor. Their masks kept them safe. They breathed slow and steady. In the cities, humans began to wake. Some felt strange heads hurt, eyes blurred from the neuro waves. Others heard strange sounds outside. Windows opened. People looked up and saw tall, thin shapes moving fast. Some screamed, some grabbed phones, some ran, some stood frozen. The Krell ignored most of them. Their orders said clear the way first, deal with crowds later. The troops marched toward next targets, military bases, weapon stores, fuel tanks. They knew humans kept many guns, many vehicles, many planes. The plan said take those fast before humans used them. Vexstar watched one screen that showed a big city full of lights. The humans started to move now. Cars filled streets. People ran in groups. Some pointed at the sky. Others hid in buildings. The Krell commander for that area sent more troops down. Their gliders landed in parks, on roads, on flat roofs. Soldiers poured out, ready to control the streets. Everything looked good. The invasion rolled forward, smooth and strong. The Krell had spent 100 years making sure nothing went wrong. They thought of every human trick, every weapon, every plan. Now the moment came to take the prize. Then one small light blinked on a side screen. An officer turned to look. The light came from a place far from any big target. A rural area with few people. The officer checked the data. A Krell drop pod sat on the ground, but no troops moved from it. The link showed static, then nothing. Vexstar turned his head. Slow? What happened? He asked. The officer worked fast. More data came in. The pod landed fine. The troops stepped out. Then something hit them. Something fast and small. No weapon signature, no energy reading, just impact. Vexstar stared at the screen. The first crack appeared small but real. He ordered more eyes on that place. Drones lifted from nearby gliders. They flew low and quiet. They found the pod empty. Armor pieces lay scattered, some cracked, some burned. The troops gone. No bodies, no blood, just pieces. The drones scanned wider. They saw small flying machines, 4 of them buzzing like insects. They moved fast, turned sharp, and slammed into another Krell group. The machines carried no guns, just speed and weight. One hit a soldier helmet and broke it. The Krell inside fell choking on Earth air. Vexthar mandibles tightened. These were not army drones. These came from a place called a high school. A group of young humans played with them for sport. Now those toys turned deadly. Command ship grew quiet. Officers looked at each other. No simulation showed this. No plan covered children with racing drones. The Krell trained against soldiers, against tanks, against jets, never against kids in garages. Vexthar spoke calm. Keep watching. Send more drones. Find out how many of these things exist. The officers moved fast, but deep in his mind a new thought grew. Humans did not wait for orders. They did not need leaders to fight. They just acted. The invasion still rolled strong. Most troops moved forward. Most targets fell. But that one small light on the screen kept blinking. More reports came in from other places. Small machines appeared everywhere. Some flew, some rolled, some drove. People used what they had. Phones, cameras, cars, tools, anything. The Krell kept marching. They believed the plan still held. They thought these small things meant nothing. 100 years said humans would break soon. They had no idea the clock already started. 10 moments began to count. Down. At 1 minute and 48 seconds, after the first Krell boot touched ground, the world started to push back. Small machines rose from rooftops, from backyards, from parking lots. Delivery drones that once carried food and packages now flew straight at the tall, thin invaders. They carried no bombs, just their own batteries and fuel tanks set to spark on impact. The crashes made bright flashes and small fires. The Krell had to pull power from their stealth fields to shield against heat. Their perfect hiding started to fail. In many places humans still slept or stared in shock. But in others, quick minds already worked. Phones turned on, cameras pointed up, pictures and videos flew across networks. People shared what they saw without waiting for anyone to tell them what to do. Servers in distant rooms hummed as computer programs looked at every frame. They found patterns in the Krell armor. Joints where plates met, seams around helmets, weak spots at the neck and knees, circles on screens, and sent the drawings to anyone who asked. At 2 minutes and 19 seconds, a strange thing happened in a quiet green place called Pennsylvania. A group of teenagers gathered in a field, most nights, to race tiny fast drones. They flew the machines through gates and around trees, using small screens and controls. One boy saw the black shape land near his house. He did not run. He grabbed his controller and turned his racing drone toward the enemy. The others followed without words. The drones screamed through the air. They moved too quick for Krell eyes to track. One slammed into a soldier chest plate and cracked it. Another hit a face mask. The glass shattered. Air rushed in. The Krell soldier dropped hands at his throat, gasping. The teenagers cheered loud. They sent video of the fall to their friends. Friends sent it further. Within seconds, the clip played on millions of screens. Krell officers in the command ship saw the report. They stared at the data. Attackers flew no flags, wore no uniforms, answered to no general. They raced drones for fun. Now they killed trained warriors. The officers felt cold doubt for the first time. 100 years of simulations never showed children turning toys into weapons. More reports came fast. In a city by a big river, people climbed to roofs with phones. They aimed lights at Krell squads. The bright beams confused the alien sensors. Armor flickered between colors, unable to decide what to match. The soldiers shot back, but humans ducked behind walls and kept filming. Every video fed the growing web of knowledge. At 3 minutes and 7 seconds, the change grew bigger. Social feeds filled with short messages. People posted pictures of dead Krell, with notes on what worked. One man in a cold northern land found that common salt burned the alien skin when thrown. Another in a hot, dry place learned that strong soap foam clogged their air filters. Groups formed online. They shared lists of household items that hurt the invaders. Vinegar, bleach, motor oil, paint thinner, things from under sinks and in garages turned deadly. Humans did not wait for army orders. Soldiers in uniform joined the crowd. Hunters took rifles from cabinets. Farmers drove tractors toward landing zones. Garage mechanics built traps from scrap metal and wire. Anyone with hands and anger became part of the fight. The Krell tried to hold their lines. They set up small bases in parks and empty lots. They raised shield walls and pointed beam rifles outward. But the attacks came from everywhere. Small drones buzzed overhead. Fireworks shot from backyards confused their targeting. Fire bottles filled with gasoline sailed through air and broke on armor. The flames did little harm alone, but they forced the Krell to waste energy on cooling. Their shields grew thin. In one crowded street, a group of young men drove small cars straight at a Krell squad. The cars rammed hard. Metal bent, but the aliens stumbled. The humans jumped out. Swinging metal bars and tools, one Krell rifle fell to the ground. A woman picked it up. She did not know how to use it, but she pointed and pulled. The beam shot wide and hit a wall. The Krell turned to face her. She ran and others covered her with thrown stones. Vexthar watched the main screen. The green lights that showed success started to blink yellow in many places. Casualties rose slow at first, then faster. Troops reported losing contact with squads. Lost squads reported ambushes from unseen enemies. The command net filled with noise. Too many voices, too many alarms. An officer spoke to Vexthar. Supreme, the humans do not fight as one army. They fight as millions of small pieces. Each piece acts alone, but they learn from each other faster than we can update our plans. Vexthar mandibles clicked sharp. He knew the officer spoke the truth. The simulations assumed humans needed time to decide. Now humans decided in seconds. They copied each other, shared ideas, and attacked without pause. Desert Place. A Krell landing group tried to take a big airbase. They marched in tight formation, shields linked. The humans there worked different. They used bulldozers to push sand into walls. They lit old tires to make thick smoke. The smoke blocked Krell sensors. The aliens fired blind. Beams cut through haze but hit nothing useful. Then small flying machines appeared again. They dropped glass bottles filled with acid. The acid ate at shield edges. The Krell pulled back for the first time. Across the oceans, the same story repeated. In island nations, people used boats to ram gliders still in shallow water. In mountain villages, hunters tracked Krell by heat prints in snow. In forest lands, people strung wires and ropes to trip the tall soldiers. Everywhere, humans used what they knew best: improvising, fixing things on the fly, turning junk into tools, turning fear into anger. The Krell battle computers tried to adapt. They ran new simulations inside the ships, but each update took minutes. Changed tactics in seconds. The gap grew. The perfect plan started to crack wider. Vexthar stood on the bridge. His shell felt heavy. He looked at the planet below. The blue world that looked so weak now bit back hard. 100 years said humans would fold under perfect attack. Instead, they unfolded. They spread. They grew sharper with every passing second. At 4 minutes, the first real panic touched Krell minds. Not fear exactly. Krell did not feel fear the way humans did. But doubt grew. Doubt that the Dominion knew everything. Doubt that training beat raw surprise. Doubt that long life made them wiser than short, angry lives. The command ship received more bad news. Orbital rods ready to fall faced new problems. Human telescopes, big and small, tracked the falling metal. Amateur groups with homemade lenses shared positions online. Ground lasers once used to study stars now pointed up. Short bursts of light burned rod surfaces. Rods tumbled off course. Some broke apart in air, missed cities, and hit empty fields. Vexstar ordered full sensor sweep. Find every human machine. Find every signal. Find every threat. The sweep returned too much data. Phones, cars, drones, lights, fires, voices. The planet screamed in every band. The Krell ears rang with human noise. The first 3 moments passed. The cracks spread. The Krell still held many places. They killed many humans. They destroyed many things. But the humans did not stop. They kept coming. They kept learning. They kept fighting. 10 moments waited ahead. The Krell did not know how few remained. At 4 minutes and 22 seconds, the old ways of war broke apart. NATO, Russia, China, and every other military force threw away their thick rulebooks. Central Command stayed dark from the first strikes, but the body of each army kept moving, alive and angry. Orders no longer came from offices in mountains or cities. Orders came from phones, from radios, from shouted words in streets and fields. Mesh networks grew fast. Civilians turned on special apps that linked phones and computers without towers. Starlink dishes on roofs stayed active even when power failed. They passed messages person to person, across towns, across countries. The whole planet turned into one huge nervous system. Every human with a screen became a sensor. Every human with a voice became a commander. Soldiers in uniform met regular people on roads. They shared bullets, they shared food, they shared ideas. A young woman who once fixed cars now told trained fighters how to jam Krell beam rifles with household magnets. Hunter, who tracked deer for years, showed soldiers how to follow alien heat trails through dark woods. A gamer who flew drones in virtual battles sat on his porch and guided real ones against real enemies. In a busy city near the sea, auto rickshaw drivers saw Krell squads marching down narrow lanes. They did not wait for orders. They revved engines and charged. The small three-wheel machines hit hard. Legs and knees buckled under metal. The drivers jumped out, swinging wrenches and tire irons. Krell's shields flashed, but the hits kept coming from every side. The aliens pulled back, leaving broken armor behind. In wide-open lands with big skies, pickup trucks rolled out. Owners mounted heavy rifles on beds. They drove fast circles around Krell positions. Bullets hammered shields. Sparks flew. The drivers laughed loud as they reloaded. One truck carried an old machine gun from a museum. The gun roared and tore through a shield wall. The Krell inside fell quick. In frozen white places, hunters moved silent on skis. They wore white coats that hid them in snow. They carried long rifles made for big animals. Now they aimed at tall, thin shapes that glowed hot against the cold. The Krell sensors missed the hunters at first. Then shots rang out, one after another. Krell helmets cracked. Air rushed in. Lungs burned. The hunters vanished into blizzards before return fire came. The Krell tried to fight back. They raised bigger shields. They called down support from orbit. Small pods dropped more troops. But the new troops landed into traps. People dug pits, covered them with branches and dirt. Krell fell in, and humans poured fire from above. Others used chainsaws to cut trees fast. The trees fell across paths, blocking alien movement. Orbital kinetic rods started their fall, long streaks of metal aimed at cities. But humans saw them coming. Amateur groups with telescopes in backyards tracked every rod. University students with old software plotted paths. They shared the numbers online. Listened lasers, once built to study distant stars, turned upward. Short bursts of light hit the rods. Rods heated, twisted, and broke apart. Pieces burned up in air or fell into oceans harmless. In factory towns, workers refused to hide. They built barricades from steel plates and concrete blocks. They turned forklift machines into rams. They loaded trucks with scrap metal and drove straight at Krell lines. The crashes made loud noise and bright sparks. Krell beam rifles cut some trucks in half, but more came behind. Workers threw Molotov cocktails, simple bottles with fuel and rag fuses. Flames licked at alien armor. The Krell had to divert power to fight fire instead of fight humans. Online, the learning sped up. Groups posted what killed Krell best. One video showed vinegar poured on a wounded alien. The skin hissed and bubbled. Another showed bleach foam shot from garden sprayers. The foam stuck and ate seals around joints. People mixed household cleaners into sprays. Captured gear. They shared recipes fast. Simple things from kitchens became weapons of war. Children helped too. Young ones carried messages when signals jammed. They rode bikes through streets, passing notes and small drives with data. Older kids flew toy drones low to scout. They spotted Krell movements and sent warnings. Adults listened to the kids. No one laughed at small voices anymore. Every voice mattered. The Krell command net filled with cries for help. Squads reported humans everywhere. No front line, no safe zone. Attacks came from houses, from alleys, from rooftops, from skies. The aliens formed tight circles, shields locked. But humans did not charge in groups. They waited, they probed, they found weak spots, they hit and ran. They came back stronger. Vexthar stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on screens that once showed green victory. Now yellow and red lights blinked fast across the map. Casualties climbed past 20%, then 30%. Lost links grew too many to count. Officers spoke in low voices. The humans adapt faster than our systems can follow. We change plans, they change faster. We train for order, they thrive in chaos. One officer showed a clip from a city street. A single human ran at a Krell soldier with a metal pole. The pole hit shield, but the human rolled away. Another human threw a rock from behind. The rock cracked helmet glass. A third human fired a small pistol. The bullet found the crack. The Krell fell. 3 humans, no training, no link, just quick, angry action. Vexthar mandibles ground together. The simulations never captured this. Humans did not need perfect plans. They needed only will. They turned everyday object into death. They turned fear into fuel. 100 years said they would break. Now they bent the Krell instead. In space, the flagship shook as human missiles rose. Some came from hidden silos. Some came from ships at sea. Some came from trucks on highways. The missiles flew wild paths guided by phone data. But enough hit Krell's support ships. Small explosions bloomed in orbit. The Armada felt the loss. Ground troops started to feel alone. Their linked minds frayed as brothers died. The perfect order cracked. Doubts spread slow but real. The invaders who came sure of easy win now faced a planet that refused to lose. At 7 minutes the tide turned hard. Krell lines pulled back in many places. They left bodies and broken gear behind. Humans moved in to take rifles, to take shields, to take anything useful. They learned alien weapons fast. They turned beam guns on the owners. The Krell still fought. They killed thousands. They held some strong points. But the planet kept pushing. Every human who could stand fought. Every human who could think planned. Every human who could breathe hated the tall, thin strangers who came to take their home. The moments ticked on. The Krell felt the weight of 10 short heartbeats. They trained 100 years for this day. Now the day turned against them. Humans did not stop. They did not tire. They did not wait. The end drew close. 3 moments left. The Krell began to understand what humans always knew. War was not a game of rules. It was a game of never giving up. At 8 minutes and 41 seconds, the Krell flagship bridge filled with red warning lights. Every screen showed the same terrible truth. Ground forces reported heavy losses. 87% of all troops, either dead, pinned, or scattered across the planet. Squads that once marched in perfect order now hid behind broken walls or ran through streets. They begged for pickup ships that never came. Supreme Warmaster Vexthar stared at the main holotank. The glowing map of Earth turned mostly red. Small green dots blinked weak and few. His mandibles opened, then closed again. No words came. The command net carried screams, pain reports, final goodbyes from soldiers who felt brothers die in their minds. The linked thoughts that once gave strength now gave only endless hurt. An officer stepped close. "Supreme, we must recall the rest. The retreat order must come now." Vexthar turned slow. His deep blue shell caught the dim light. He looked at the faces around him, young officers who trained their whole lives for this day. Old ones who remembered the first Earth signal. Now their eyes showed something new. Something the Krell almost never felt. Defeat. Vexthar spoke low. The voice carried to every surviving ship. "Prepare for full withdrawal. All remaining gliders, lift now. Leave the ground forces behind. If they still live, they fight on alone." The words felt heavy, wrong, against 100 years of careful plan. But no other choice remained. Earth refused to break. It bent the invaders instead. The order went out. Pods lifted from rooftops, from fields, from city squares. Black shapes rose fast, engines screaming against air. Some pods made it high, others met human fire, missiles from hidden launchers, tracer rounds from heavy guns, small drones that rammed engines, fireworks that blinded sensors. One by one the rising ships fell back to ground, in flames. On the surface humans saw the retreat. They shouted, they cheered, they kept shooting hunters in trees, farmers in fields, kids on bikes, everyone who held a weapon or a tool or just bare hands pushed forward. They took Krell rifles. They took armor pieces. They took anything left behind. Some aliens tried to surrender, hands raised high. Humans shot them down. No mercy came for those who brought death from the stars. In one big city, a last Krell squad held a tall building. They raised shields. They fired beams downward. Humans answered with everything. Cars rammed the base of the tower. Fire bottles sailed up windows. Homemade bombs made from gas cans and nails exploded against walls. The building shook. The Krell inside felt the end come close. One officer sent a final message to the flagship. "We held as long as we could. Forgive us." The link cut sharp. High above, Vexthar watched the last ground report come in. At 9 minutes and 59 seconds. A single voice broke through static. A Krell officer, surrounded by farm machines, turned into flying bombs. The machines carried bags of fertilizer, mixed with fuel. And fast, the officer screamed as the swarm closed. The blast lit the night. The voice ended. Forever. At 10 minutes exactly, Vexthar gave the command. "All ships, jump now." The Armada engines flared. Space folded around the survivors. Barely 1/3 of the fleet remained. The rest burned in orbit or crashed on the blue world below. The ships vanished into the dark, leaving silence behind. Earth did not throw parades. No flags waved from every pole. People cleaned the streets. They pulled bodies away. They fixed broken roads. They counted the dead and the missing. Then most went back to normal life. They argued about small things. They watched sports. They ate meals with family. They posted pictures of the night sky, now clear of black gliders. In a quiet room, one old general sat with an aide. He looked at maps covered in marks of battle. He spoke soft. 100 years to get ready, and they never thought we would just keep making things up as we went. The aide nodded. Pushed. They found ways no one expected. They turned toys into killers, kitchens into arsenals, anger into plans. The news spread fast through the galaxy. Other species listened to the stories. They heard how a young world with short lives beat a long-lived empire. They heard how 7 billion minds linked without orders, how simple tools beat advanced weapons, how 10 short moments undid 100 long years. The tales grew. They became warnings. Never wake the sleeping ape. Never give humans a reason to improvise. Some aliens laughed at first. They said the Krell grew soft. They made mistakes. But deep down, fear grew. What if the next target fought the same way? What if every soft-looking planet hid the same wild strength? The Dominion lost respect. Other empires watched close, ready to take advantage. But none dared move on Earth yet. On the Blue World, life moved forward. Factories built new machines. Scientists studied captured Krell gear. They learned fast. They made better shields, better beams, better ships. Humans looked up at the stars, now with different eyes. They knew others waited out there, some friendly, some not. They prepared, quiet but sure. Years later, old people told the story to children around fires. They spoke of the night, the sky filled with shadows of the 10 moments that changed everything. Kids listened, wide-eyed. They asked, "How did we win?" The old ones smiled. Simple. We never stopped. We just kept going, one small idea after another, until the big plan broke. Vexstar lived on in shame. His name became a joke among his own kind. The War Master, who lost to primitives. He spent his remaining centuries in quiet exile, thinking of the Blue World, thinking of the short, angry lives that refused to bow. He wondered if the Dominion ever truly understood what they attacked. Humans did not fight for land or power alone. They fought because someone dared to take their home. They fought because giving up never entered their minds. The galaxy remembered the lesson well. Train as long as you want. Plan as perfect as you can, but never forget one truth. Humans adapt. They invent. They endure. Give them 1 second, and they find a way. Give them 10 moments, and empires fall. Earth turned quiet again. The scars faded. Grass grew over craters. Buildings rose again. People laughed, cried, worked, loved. The stars stayed bright and close, waiting for the next challenge. The invaders came, trained for a century. They lasted only 10 moments, and the universe took note. Never underestimate the ones who refuse to quit.